There it goes. Oh my gosh. Just. Okay. Restarted the computer. Stupid freaking OBS update again and erased the microphone. So there we go. All right. I was saying we had a wonderful day. You know, the fact that the big dog isn't around anymore means Monkey gets to wear her bandanas again because there's no one to rip them off of her. And then we got to go into town and we had burgers and froyo and everyone was fawning over her and she was having such a lovely time. It was just a great day. It's the warmest October ever recorded in Washington. It's been 80 degrees 3 days in a row now. Never before has there been multiple 80-degree days in October. It's supposed to be in the upper 70s or 80s all week. It is summer still out here in the Pacific Northwest. So Monkey Butt and I are going to try and make the most of it while we can. It's just shorts and t-shirt weather still. It should be pissing rain and our lives are miserable right now, and it's just not. So, global warming, things are looking up. Yeah. So, bleh. There it is. And off. Okay. So, news of the day. Let's see here. William Morgan sent me about 10,000 messages of news of how the world is ending and all these banks are going under and no one's going to have any money and everything's going to crash miserably and homes aren't worth spit and everyone's going to freeze and starve to death in Europe. And then so I said, well, that means the market's going to be green. And then boom, for no reason at all. None. There are no good earnings reports. The announcement that UBS, Credit Suisse, and Deutsche Bank are all probably on the cusp of collapsing. And the credit default swaps are spiking faster than they did in 2008. Why? Why was everything green? And everything except for Ape and Revlon. Everything else was green. Why? Another news, Trump is suing CNN for $400 and something million, which that's not going anywhere. That thing's going to get tossed. He doesn't have any good enough lawyers to do anything about that against a corporation that can afford actual lawyers. And the Russian doomsday tsunami bomb submarine has left port. The Russian nuclear response train or whatever has left Moscow. Putin's rattling them sabers. He's definitely upping his at least bluff, if anything. And what was the any other news, Monkey? I mean, I know you're in bored dog sleeping mode, but I should write notes on you, and then when I look over at you, be like, oh yeah, that thing I was going to talk about. Anyway, give me what you got. It's a late night show, mainly because I ended up working a double yesterday, and I just laid in bed and doom scrolled my phone. I spent a good chunk of the day doing nothing. I just did not feel like doing a show at the moment, so I didn't do one. So here we are at 10 o'clock at night, drinking some water, doing a show. I do this for the Euro Apes is what I do it for. Okay. Let's get in there. Guitar Stuff Houston feels like the crash hype was retail only. Oh no, it's coming. It's coming. Jason Blackwell, I'm going to tell you a joke about nitrous oxide. No. Oh shoot, I was supposed to print out a thing that Jersey gave me. I forgot to do. Oh, the magnet tape is coming off. Stay on there, magnet tape. You have one job. I was supposed to. Anyway, go to goaskhouston.com. I haven't gotten another person wanting to put an ad up yet. But Jersey did print me out a better thing for the or sent me a thing. I forgot to print it out. So sorry, Jersey. I'll get that printed out. I totally forgot to do that. I didn't remember until I saw it behind me here. Okay. Lost Waves Houston, check out John Schaefer's latest tweet, Dude from Iced Earth. I will, which is not on this computer because I can't really get the Can't do the Twitter thing on this computer without it murdering my Twitter account. Houston, I was looking at NOAA chart of Puget Sound, saw something marked unexplored ordnance here. Do you know anything about this? Well, let's look. Where are we going? Where are we going? Google Earth. Shaboom. Oh, I forgot to actually open up Google Earth on my computer. That would help. There it is. There we go. Bam, bam. Get rid of that part and shaboom. Going to Puget Sound. Going to... Oh, right off Agate Point? Is it unexploded or unexplored ordnance? This is really close to where I live. So there was a giant fireworks show that was held right out here the other day, and everyone thought the world was ending because no one told anyone about it. And all of a sudden, an hour-long series of huge explosions were happening. Why would there be any ordnances here? There were never any bases here. Navy ships don't come through here. Interesting. That's pretty shallow water, too. Like, people's floating docks are about that far out. No. I know nothing about this. This is all news to me. I'm going to have to go look at some charts. Huh. Because what we have is... Okay, so we zoom out, give you the little Pacific Northwest military base history. Over here, we got Bangor. Banga. This is the largest repository of nuclear warheads in the entire world. Something like 1,200 cruise missile nuke warheads are here. The sub base is here, so the submarines, they get their dry dock somewhere around here is the dry dock, and they dock up. So might be one in here. There's a submarine right there. So the Trident nuclear submarines, fast attack subs, a whole bunch of them are based here. Below Bangor, we've got Keyport, the Naval Undersea Warfare Center. So this is where they like build torpedoes and all sorts of things. There's a really cool museum here too. The Undersea Warfare Museum is there, so it's got all sorts of crazy stuff there. Then we have the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, which is home to a whole bunch of carrier groups. I'm not sure which ones are in here right now. Kitty Hawk. Okay, we got USS Constellation, USS Ranger. I have no idea which one this is. Might be the Nimitz or something. Got Triton, and we got a bunch of submarines here as well. A whole bunch of submarines lined up there. There's also a huge mothball fleet that's stationed in here as well. Then if we go north, we go to Indian Island. We have the Indian Island Munitions Depot, so like pretty much all the ordnances for Navy ships are stored here. We go over to Whidbey Island. We've got the Oak Harbor Whidbey Island Naval Air Station up here, which is where like the growlers and used to be the A6 intruders and stuff were based. Then we head over to Edmonds, and we got the Edmonds Navy base here, where another couple carrier groups are based. What do we got here? What's in support in this picture? Abraham Lincoln, that was not identified. That looks like an amphibious vehicle that's in some sort of repair stage. Head south. We have the Joint Base Lewis McChord, which is the McChord Air Base, and Fort Lewis, where the Stryker and Green Berets are all based. Prior to that, we used to have several more bases. We used to have Discovery Park, which was Lawton Army Base. We had Sandpoint Naval Air Station. Here on Bainbridge, we had Fort Ward, and then I can't remember the name. Watauga, Fort Watauga, which was gun batteries in case like the Germans made their way into the port, try and get to the naval shipyard. Up north, there was what's the Keyport base? There's a military base up here that had all sorts of guns. Then you had in Port Townsend, you had a Fort Flagler, which was a gun battery, and then you had Fort Worden. So Fort Ward on Bainbridge, Fort Worden in Port Townsend. This is where Officer and Gentleman was filmed. The gun batteries here are really cool to go climb around on too. They are really cool to go climb around on. So Puget Sound was full of all this Navy stuff and armed military stuff. So, but why there would there be an ordinance of some kind? I don't know. There's also tons of Nike nuclear missile silos. There was at least 3 on Bainbridge that I know of: Strawberry Hill, Battle Point, and Eagle Harbor. And then there was a bunch in Kingston, a bunch in Paulsbo. They actually filled in the one in Paulsbo to build a Walmart on top of it. I'm sure there was more, but these are the Nike missiles that if the Russians were to launch ICBMs or bring out like their Buffalo bombers, they would launch these Nike missiles up and explode the nuclear ordnance high in the atmosphere to destroy anything that was coming. So basically it just mean fallout for everybody, but it would like save physical destruction of things. It was a pretty terrible system. But there's now a skate park built on top of the Nike missile silo in Strawberry Hill Park. Let's see if we can see it. It looks like the baseball fields. Yeah, so that's the skate park right here. This is built on top of the Nike missile silo. And then the maintenance facility for the Nike missiles at Battle Point Park is now the observatory. So there's a 27-inch telescope on top of that sucker. But this is also a Nike nuclear missile silo. And then this building right here is the old radio building. This is where the Japanese code was cracked during World War II, was this building right here. A whole bunch of ladies working in here that were code crackers cracked the Japanese code, so we knew what the Japanese were doing after that. And now it's a lovely park with some soccer and baseball fields and tennis courts, and you can, little pond and stuff. A little bit of history right there for you. But why would there be an ordnance? I have no idea. But now it makes me want to go get scuba gear and figure out what the hell it's all about. So, that's a good one. We went on a whole journey through Puget Sound there. Okay. Jason Blackwell, Houston, do you have a SPY bottom in mind? 280 over under? I bet under 280. I bet we can see a 40% drop from where we are now, which would put us at what? Well, 200 or so? I bet 220. 220, probably SPY bottom. Give it March, April, sometime around there that we hit it. But man, that's the SPY bottom, I think. It's got a long ways to go. There's a lot of institutions that got to die, and a lot of companies that will go, well, that's it for us. We're done before anything here is done. Guitar stuff. What geological mystery? What is a geological mystery? What's something we are like, we don't know what that's made of, how that was made. What's it called? Uplift. Shoot. No. Upheaval dome. Upheaval dome. Upheaval dome. Okay. Oh shoot! I forgot to. We gotta turn the Google Earth off. Gotta turn the Chrome on. Yeah, bam. Done. This guy. So Upheaval Dome is a weird uplift in what is normally a whole bunch of ancient seafloor. So you have all this millions of years of sediment being laid down by an ancient ocean. So everything's kind of stacked on top of each other. And there's this weird uplift and then drop of the land. And it kind of makes what looks like a crater in the middle of all these mesas. There's 2 theories. One is a crater impact. So something went blap and annihilated a big chunk of land. And then usually when a meteorite impacts, it hits, compresses the land, it super melts, and then springs back. So you get like this weird little peak in the middle, like this guy right here. And you get rings around the crater. The salt dome theory is salt is lighter than the surrounding rock. And so if it's molten, it will like to pass through all that rock and float to the top. And then the denser rock will sink beneath. And so the thought is that it moved through all this rock and then got eroded away by the weather when it got to the surface. So it left kind of this weird impression. We don't know either one. We have no idea. A lot of hippies, like my eldest brother, seem to believe that there was a magical electrical storm that came from space and zapped this whole thing, which is not how anything works. But you go into like Canyonlands area, Bryce Canyon area. You go to Tropic, to Escalante, to Boulder, Utah. You'll talk to the rednecks and hippies, and they'll all believe that some weird space electrical storm from God created Upheaval Dome, and they're all full of shit. two prevailing theories, salt dome and impact crater theory. We can look at it here. Let's see if we can get to upheaval dome. Where are Google Earth? There we go. Here you go in Utah. I mean, it's got a nice circular shape to it. It looks like it, kind of craterish. It's got a big run out because over the years, this was the drainage for this depression. So the water had to go somewhere. So it left through here. It's got this weird ring mesa around it. Let's see if I can find upheaval dome. Upheaval dome. What's the word I'm looking for, monkey? Structure? Structure. Images. Give me some images. Here we go. All right. So that's not a very big picture. Oh, you guys can't see it anyway because it's behind the Google Earth. Bam. So this picture is not very big. Give me a bigger one. Do you have a bigger one? Oh, here we go. All right. No, that's just talking about uranium deposits. Maybe I'll just go with that smaller one. It's a good picture. It's just too small. This guy here. So most everything is in this layer, but for some reason there's a peak in the center of it, and we don't know what caused it. Now, something obviously uplifted that peak, and so this particular picture thinks it's a meteor impact because they've got shock breccia and impact melt around it, or so they claim. But there's a rebound that happens when there's meteor impact. So it's very possible it could be a meteor impact. It's got that shape. I can't say one way or the other at all. But here's another group's thinking that upheaval dome is a meteor impact, and that's the outer ring of it. It could have been impact before all those layers were laid down over the past, but it's as good as any as a geologic mystery. JH, I went to Laurel Canyons in Pennsylvania today. Pretty cool cave. I have not been there. Hope it was nice. Caves are cool, as long as, you aren't doing stupid stuff in them. All right. Matthew Bennett, sounds like insurance companies in Florida are folding. Thoughts? Yeah, there was, so far $210 billion in possible claims in Florida. That's a lot, which means insurance companies are going to have to sell off assets to cover those expenses. And it's going to take a long time to build back up, to have enough assets to meet policy coverage. And the folks that had coverage in Fort Myers and in Cape Coral, surrounding areas, and the ones in South Carolina that got hit recently, they might not be able to find insurance again. So there has been talk recently that hadn't really been talked about before at the governmental level of not allowing people to rebuild. Basically, here's the money for your damages, go somewhere else. Just to because these places are going to get hit every 5 to 10 years. They're going to get destroyed. You're not going to be able to get insurance or mortgages or anything for this stuff. Why do we keep letting them build there? It's pretty much the big question. So those folks at those really low levels built on top of these old mangrove swamps in Florida probably shouldn't be allowed to build again. Just let nature claim it and let some ghost town hunters go hang out there 50 years from now. The insurance lobby might be pushing really hard for that. We'll give you money if you promise not to rebuild here. We'll buy you a house somewhere else. That might be kind of what they go for. Amber Fire Right. Do you have any responses to the GameStop series, Saga series released on Netflix? I haven't seen it yet. When will I've... Probably should have just been lazy and watched it today, but I didn't. Monkey Butt, when do you think we should watch it? Wednesday? Maybe we'll try to give it a watch on Wednesday. If I remember. Remind me on Wednesday to go watch it. Baus Vans, what about the Jamie saga that was on HBO? It was better. They mentioned Naked Shorts at least then. They did. They talked a little bit about Naked Shorts. So far, all the GME documentaries assume it's over. They never talk about, like, it's an ongoing thing, even though they released and, like, you know, the stock still shot up to hundreds and hundreds of dollars again. So, right now we're to the no volume section. Teacup Houston, what's your thoughts on Michael Burry tweeted? Oh shit, I gotta go. All right, what was the other tweet I was supposed to go look at up here in the beginning? Iced John Schaefer. Okay, I'm gonna look at John Schaefer. Iced Earth News. John, is it H-O-H-N? No, just John Schaefer. Did I do that right? Okay, I'm getting a Seattle Mariners. Why? Seattle Mariners, yeah, people. Give me people. Is there John Schaefer? Iced Earth News. Team of Legend. All right, I'm not seeing that. But let's go example Michael Burry. There we go. Oops, back. Michael Burry. Michael Burry. Where'd you go, Michael Burry? Michael Burry. Of course, now the internet's crapping out my phone. So I wish I could use my... Well, I should probably set a VPN on my phone as well. All right, there we go. Michael Burry. What do you tweet? I just remember I was feeling greedy on the long side in 2000. Okay, and then he said, starting this, it's some sort of fantasy novel. And he said, I admitted feeling greedy. And those were his 3 tweets. He knows that the entire market's about to collapse and he's a short player. So he's going to make himself a pile of money because he probably has a bunch of shorts right now. He's probably shorting everything. Probably shorting SPY, probably shorting Dow, probably shorting everything. I don't know what more to make of that other than he's a short player and it's time to short. No sound genius. What is this, a show for mimes? I'm Marcella. What are the probabilities of the government stepping in and put a price cap on AMC and GME? We talked about this a lot. It's not zero. Again, the U.S. government has to think about foreign dollars in the U.S. market, which are 40% of all investments. 40% of all investors in U.S. markets are foreigners. If they do anything to piss off those foreigners have other markets they can go invest in. They can go to Singapore, they can go to Korea, they can go to Japan, they can go to Australia, they can go to Frankfurt, they can go to London. They can go invest anywhere else they want. They don't have to invest in U.S. markets. They can go play other games elsewhere. So if they do things like, I don't know, let's say they set a price for $1,000 on GameStop. That's probably going to piss off a whole bunch of foreign longs who are like, I'm not playing for $1,000. I'm playing for significantly more than that. They're going to piss off their own retail investors inside the United States as well. They're going to be like, this is corrupt. This is bullshit. Why are you protecting these people? They took on infinite risk when they went to short, and now you're protecting them? This is crap. And it's going to really piss off a whole bunch of voters and people who are active in the markets. And those retail traders, they can go invest elsewhere. They can take their money, put it into a neighborhood coffee shop, put it into real estate, they can go invest in those foreign markets. They can put it into other things. So I think if the U.S. is going to make a settlement price for these meme stocks, they really have to tread lightly as to when they do it, how they do it, and for how much. But it's not a non-zero thing. I think it's better to let it run and let it be absolutely crazy and then just bail out the banks afterwards. You're getting angry, puts a no interest streak. Ah. Guitar Dude 0909 Houston, my family and I are thinking about relocating to Washington. Which would you rather do, Tri-Cities or Vancouver? I mean, depends on where in each. Tri-Cities, depending on where you are, you've got wine country. You've got like apple and hops growers. You have Mexican cartels. You've got the people that work at the nuclear facilities. So you get kind of like different little regions throughout the Tri-Cities. The weather is pretty good. Get pretty cold in the winter, but the summers are hot and warm and sunny. The river is fun. Vancouver, you've got the nice parts, which are suburbs of Portland. So people will live in Washington and work in Portland because there's no income tax in Washington and there's no sales tax in Oregon. So that's one of the benefits of being in Vancouver. There's a lot of meth heads in Vancouver. Just a lot of them. And Vancouver's a really spread out city. They in the last 15 years have annexed a whole bunch of land. So they went from a population of like 20,000 to like the third or fourth largest city in Washington in that time. They just expanded, but they didn't really have the public infrastructure personnel or anything to kind of take on the responsibility from the county for all the population that they annexed. And there's a lot of meth heads in Vancouver, a lot of them. So like, do your research as to where you want to live and then lock your doors and make sure, your catalytic converter's okay. Because that type of shit's going to happen to you out in Vancouver if you're in the wrong spot. But it's unlike Tri-Cities, it's green. So that side of the mountains, green and lush. You got Portland right there. So there's lots more like urban things you can do than you can in the Tri-Cities. I had a couple friends move to the Tri-Cities. They seem okay. They got their little neighborhood tavern they go to and like their 5 friends, and they seem content. They still spend a lot of time in Seattle for living over there, though. But, they're all right. Sad Boy Incorporated, thoughts on buying long calls for GME when it bounces, ending in November. That's probably what I'm going to do is probably pick up some more calls this week. I think we're going to see some green perhaps starting second or third week of October. We got XRT threshold list buying that will happen, and we have OPEX happening around the same time. So I think we might get a good bump on GME, maybe somewhere between like the 11th and 20th, somewhere in there. So I've got some calls for October 18th, 20th, 21st, somewhere in there, whatever the monthlies are for October. But I might pick up some for November, just, be on the safe side. Nerds, so please tell me the news of the emergency meeting with the Fed. Please turn off your intro. We don't know the news yet. It appears that they're going to be talking about banks that are very unstable right now. I don't know if they'll be talking about international banks or American banks. Like the UBS and Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank, they do have branches and investments here in America, but they are not American banks. So I have no idea what their status is as members of the Fed. But in March 2008, when JP Morgan was going down, they did one of these expedited meetings. They invited all the banks in except for JP Morgan. And then basically everyone decided Bear Stearns. Or they invited everyone except Bear Stearns, came in, and JP Morgan was like, we'll take Bear Stearns off your hands. And the Fed went, okay. They basically negotiated the death of Bear Stearns, and JP Morgan took over. Lehman Brothers, a little more, they didn't see it coming, I think. Kind of just $600 billion in assets from blink, and they're like, what the fuck? But they know it's coming for these big European banks. These big European banks have had some issues the last few years. Their liabilities are huge. Their profits have been really small. They've been limping along for the past couple of years in a pretty rough state, and they're starting to really hurt the central banks of the nations that they're members of. And these banking countries, like the United States has giant banks because we're a giant country. So if one of these banks go under, we have a international standard currency. We can just print it, take care of it, whatever, no one cares. You can't necessarily do that if you're a Switzerland. Like Swiss population is tiny, but the bank assets controlled by Swiss banks are huge because they're a banking center. You know, if a Swiss bank goes under, they can't necessarily print a cajillion Swiss francs to take care of it. And they definitely can't print any dollars. Because they print a cajillion Swiss francs to take care of it, all of a sudden the Swiss franc isn't worth spit, and it hurts their nation. They don't have a large enough tax base, because there's only a few million people that live there, to put together a bailout package via tax dollars. So if you are a banking hub with banks that are definitely outside the parameters of what your population can handle, if one of those banks go under, it can be really bad news. London's facing the same problem. You know, England has a population of 70 million, but their banks are huge international banks. HSBC, Lloyd's, Barclays. There's just a bunch of huge banks centered in London. And if they go under, the Bank of England can't necessarily handle it because they represent so many other assets around the world that's outside the size of the tax base of London. I mean, imagine if a Cayman bank went down, right? Like the Cayman Islands, there's 65,000 people that live in the Cayman Islands. And you have one of these offshore banks in the Caymans that have, I don't know, $200 billion in assets they control. And they go under. Cayman Islands can't print dollars. There's only 65,000 people who live there. They're not going to be able to get $200 billion out of 65,000 people to cover those banks. So if you have offshored your money in a place like that and the bank goes under, there's no safeguards. There's no FDIC type insurance. The money's just blink gone. And what are you going to do? I don't know. Probably go fly to the Caymans and punch your banker in the face and break his legs. But there's nothing else you can do. Their money's just gone. So some of these European countries where the banks are super huge and super powerful might not have a mechanism to truly deal with the collapse of one of these banks, if that's the case. So I'm very curious to see what the fallout is when that happens. Like Germany is an economic powerhouse. They're on the euro, so they can print euros to save these banks because they're across a huge population base. So if Deutsche Bank goes down, there's things there. But London left the common market. Swiss was never part of the common market, so they've got different currencies, and they don't have the same mechanisms or population base to handle if one of their banks goes under, or multiple. I mean, if Switzerland loses both UBS and Credit Suisse in one swoop, I mean, my vacation to Switzerland might be incredibly cheap this January. So that, and maybe we'll starve to death. I have no idea, because it looks like a giant French vegetable growers cease operations because they've got no electricity to do canning and stuff. We'll see how Europe fares this winter. But man, I do want to see what the Fed meeting is all about. I think it's one of those things we might not learn about until an article comes out 2 years down the line in Rolling Stone about, oh yeah, well, when this happened 2022, these are the players and this is who was invited, and they divvied up the remains of Bank of America or whatever. But I don't think we'll hear about what was in that meeting for a while. Ted Boy, good morning from Norway. Good morning. All right, we got Norway and Finland in here. We got, people up there around the Arctic Circle are all up and at it. Okay. Joseph Wallace, you have to donate money for use to your question. I see you right there, Joseph Wallace. No one's donated anything so far. So I'll read through questions. If you do happen to super chat, yeah, I'll read it, because you literally paid me to answer your question, yeah. But otherwise, I just scroll down, read questions as they come. Rich Woodson, good evening from Brooklyn. Any predictions regarding how high GTII will squeeze? I don't know, man. How many shares are in GTII? We looked that up last time. GTII float. Public float is 200 million. 295 million. What's the price at right now? They're at 5 something on Friday. They're at load, man. Load. 668. So it's up another buck from Friday. Up another 25%. So, I mean, it's been a pretty slow squeeze. I mean, it's steadily getting up there. It's not climbing by like tens of dollars a day, but 25% a day. It's pretty decent. I really wish I'd picked up calls, but I didn't because I wasn't paying attention. So, what's the volume right now? Where are you, volume? Where are you? Average volume's 1 million. What was the volume? You're a useless website. Screw you, Market Watch. Give me... Let's see what we got here. Okay. Volume, average volume. So the volume right now is 8.5 million. Average volume is about 871,000. So if they're closing positions and there's 195 million shares, and it's probably, I don't know what the short position was, 40%, 35%. So that would be 65, 70 million shares. Let's assume that these 8.5 million shares are all closing shares, which they're not. They're going to be shoved through dark pool. Naked shorts are happening as well. Well, let's assume that these things are closing. You're looking at 5 to 6 days to close. It's going 25% a day. $15. Maybe around there. I mean, unless it does something crazy and people are diamond handing forever. But, it's 10 times the float right now. 10 times the normal volume right now is trading. Which means a pretty small volume for the fact that there's 200 million of these things in the public float. 195 million. So, I mean, people are making money off it right now. Good job for those who got in on it. My hat is off. I tip of the cap to you, sir. Or ma'am. Anyway, I think I went there. That's my question in the form of an answer then. Mate Zabados. Good morning from the EU. Well, that's generic. Sad boy, why is it rain? Because God cries. That's why. Not your friend. Aloha from Wahoo. Is Credit Suisse going to be bailed out? That would suck. That's the thing is that, will the U.S. bail out the American branches of Credit Suisse? Or are we going to go, Switzerland, come get your boy? I know that we bailed out U.S. branches of banks that were overseas in 2008. We didn't rely on like London or Germany to do it. We spent $430 billion or something bailing out our banks overseas. So we might say to the Europeans, like, this is your bank, man. We're not paying for it. You have to do that. So, yeah. So, I not a clue. There was talk that there was like, no, we're not bailing them out this time. But that's just not logical. There's no way you cannot bail out the banks, because if you don't bail out the banks, the entire banking system collapses. The entire banking system collapses, and the entire economy is crushed into like apocalyptic depression. And so even though the Fed doesn't want to print money right now, if banks go under, they'll have to print money. They're raising rates. They're trying not to print money. But you know what? They're also saying that they're going to do quantitative tightening, and they haven't done jack shit about that yet. Remember, like, we've lost 30% on all the major indexes so far, 25, 30%, and we've done almost no quantitative tightening, which means there's $7 to $8 trillion in holdings that the Fed says they're going to sell off. They have not been sold yet. These are mortgage-backed securities. These are government bonds. These are blue chip stocks. These are bank bonds. These are things that are going to get dumped on the market for a huge loss for the Fed, and will just absolutely depress prices, as there's no demand right now to buy these things because no one has any money. So the minute the Fed really starts getting into quantitative tightening, the market's just going to collapse. They should have been selling off a year ago. They should, like last fall, they should have been selling this stuff. But no, they were keeping the market propped up because we were facing government shutdowns due to not extending the debt ceiling and things like that. So it's the Fed's in between a rock and a hard place. Like, they've got to keep interest rates up to crush financial demand. They got to basically ruin the economy to keep inflation from happening, and that takes a while to get inflation down. But you got to start having people lay off. But when you lay off people, you got to print money for unemployment and welfare and everything else, and all the services that are involved. Your tax base shrinks. The government starts deficit spending again. Our system is just stupid. We have just a dumb system, and it could be so easily solved. We just tax the rich at an appropriate level, and then everything makes sense. But no, we got to do austerity and make sure people lose their jobs in order to get inflation down. You guys have to not be working because the dollar, and that's the system we're on. First name, last name. Houston just picked up some No Labs the other day. What are your price predictions for it in the next year or so? I don't think it will do much unless some major news comes out about their FDA human trials or FDA approval. You might get a spike if their FDA trials move on to like Series 2 or 3 or whatever, Phase 2 or 3, which I think they will, because I think it sounds like their trials are going just fine. But if they get FDA approval, which I don't know exactly the time scale, maybe a year. If the FDA says, yeah, you know what, make this device, sell it, then the price will go through the roof. They may do a small offering while the price is stupid high to generate cash so they can build a factory and build their devices and things like that. But once that's done, then it's just a cash cow, making $99 a month subscription fee off 30 million Americans with diabetes in perpetuity until some other non-invasive device comes on the market. But right now they're worth, I don't know, like $85 million market cap, something like that. They'll be a $100 billion company. So, 1,000 exit, make the price go up 1,000 times what it is now, eventually. But the next year, will it go up that much? No, but it'll have a good time. When options come available in 3 or 4 weeks, I may pick up some big old leaps and see where we go from there. Okay. Chlamydia. Still love that name. My son is now at an age where he's curious about human body. I guess I'll have to hide it somewhere else now. That's a dumb joke. Gene King, morning from the UK. Houston, don't think we can call it Great Britain at the moment. Mid-Britain, maybe? Okay, Britain? Just Britain. Mediocre Britain. Beach Bum, Houston, your opinion on if the Fed will continue to raise interest rates or pivot? Thanks for the response. I think they'll at least continue to raise interest rates until the shit hits the fan. I don't think they're going to do anything close to pivoting, like printing or cutting rates until everything goes tits up. Even then, they've said nope, we're not cutting rates until 2024. Trying to get it into our heads. The interest rates are going to be insane right now. I still get mail from all these car places hey, we'll give you 4% on a car loan. Just come on in. No, you won't. You give me 28% for a Dodge Charger or something. But they're pretending like everything's fine, even though interest rates are absolutely insane. So, as my wife say. I don't think they're going to immediately pivot. If they're going to be pivoting, it's not going to be until everything just goes And the UN asked central banks to stop raising rates. They're like, please stop, because the developing world's already hit hard. And if the developing world has to take on, IMF and World Bank loans, they're at incredible interest rates anyway, because they already have low bond ratings and all these things, then they're never going to get anything built. It does mean huge profit for those who put up the money for the IMF and World Bank. Those banks will take over infrastructure and government buildings and everything else. But it does hurt the developing world much, much more than anyone else. G-Font. I want to discuss how OPEC is planning to cut supply by a million barrels a day, while Fed balance is trying to crush inflation, kill the demand for oil. While the whole thing is a mess, oil is about to rocket, which will be great for MMTLP and those that have oil stocks. Terrible for everyone else. The U.S. is emptying our reserves right now, trying to keep oil prices down. I think they were counting on economic collapse to crush the price of oil, then they go back in and build up their reserves again at a much cheaper price, sort of like they're shorting oil in a way. But the Saudis are trying to do Russia a solid and keep oil prices high. Because Russia is selling at a huge discount right now, like 20% is what they're selling the oil for to basically BRICS countries that are like, yeah, India's like, yeah, I'll take all the oil you want, buddy. Give it to me. China's taking it. But they can't get any like hard currency dollars for that oil. I do think Biden might need to put the screws to Saudi Arabia a little bit. I'm not sure how he will do it, but April 2020, Trump went to Saudi Arabia and said, "Hey, Saudi Arabia, I know you want all this modern weaponry, and we'll gladly sell it to you. But I need you to cut back oil production for at least 2 years. Promise you are not going to raise oil production, actually throttle it back for the next 2 years so that Russia can have lots of money." And Saudi Arabia said, okay, we'll do that if you give us a whole bunch of weapons. And then we did like a $650 billion weapons deal or whatever with Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia turned the faucets off. And oil prices went. So, Saudi Arabia is Trump's buddy. They're not Biden's buddy. So I'm not sure what Biden can do to entice Saudi Arabia to like produce more oil and bring prices down. It won't necessarily help Europe because Europe is so diesel dependent that they still need sulfur-free diesel and they just can't do it without natural gas to help in the distillation process to pull the sulfur out. So if you're in Europe, you're still going to be paying insane prices for diesel, especially. Maybe if the U.S. went specifically to Angola and Nigeria and helped expand the oil fields they have there to help get production level up, then we can get low sulfur oil specifically for Europe. But it's going to have to be Western countries, the Western tech going in there specifically to do this stuff. And, trying to do business in Angola is a pain. Trying to do business in Nigeria is a pain. But, oil's oil. And if the price is high enough, you will send in your mercenaries and your engineers and do it. Yeah. I think you're right. I think oil prices are going to shoot back up again. And we don't think we have enough oil in the strategic reserves to do anything about this. Remember, the strategic petroleum reserves were set up originally by Eisenhower specifically with peak oil in mind. Like Eisenhower said, okay, we'd have a whole bunch of oil stored. They store it in barrels. They store it underground in these old salt caverns. They store it all over the place. And the entire point of it was, we might get to the point where we run out of oil and the world has no more oil. And therefore, since the military runs on oil, we will have the only military in the entire world because we have all these strategic oil reserves. And for the most part, we didn't really tap it that much. Even through oil crises in the 70s, we didn't tap the strategic petroleum reserves like we do now. George W. Bush was the first one to really tap it a whole bunch. And then we've done it pretty much ever since over the last 20 years when we've run into issues. But we got to top it back off again. It's part of the act. If you use it, you got to top it off. So We just have to hope that oil prices come down by the time it comes to the point where we got to top off all that oil. And if we had a national oil company, it wouldn't be a problem. But instead, we sell all these oil leases to oil companies that don't do shit with their leases. And there's like 30,000 leases that have never been drilled before. So maybe we should, make them drill. But then again, sucking oil out of the ground, earth warms, we all die anyway. We just need a better system. Need a better system in general. Okay. Brandon T. Good evening, Houston. If MOAS starts and the system is on the brink of collapse, wouldn't a negotiated settlement by the government be likely? The gov is already looking the other way, pretending not to see. Again, it's possible. I can't say that it's out of the realm of possibility, which is why my goal is 1,000 shares of GameStop, because there's a negotiated settlement price. It's going to be at least $1,000 for that share, which means I'm getting at least $1 million out of it. That's the goal. So that's my hedge for if there is some sort of government settlement. I think if they do settle, it will be more than that. But now that there's 300 million shares out there, official shares, settlement price may come down by an order of magnitude of what it would have been. But that's my hedge, man. Or at least have 10 options in play when it happens, so I can be like, well, and sell, and then get them $1 million for those 1,000 shares in those 10 options. No, says, an static review of all democratic choices ever made in America shows that the rich always get what they want and the poor want something, chances go down. Yeah. I mean, it's the way it is a lot of places. I don't know if you guys saw John Oliver's show last night, but he had a clip from some British MP that was on BBC or something being interviewed. And they were talking about the tax cuts that Liz Truss and company put in place for the rich in Britain. And, the market went... And so this woman's questioning him. He's like, look, if you make £1 million a year, you're getting a £55,000 tax cut and the poor are getting nothing. And the guy's response was something like, well, yeah, if you're poor, you're not going to like this at all. But you're poor, whatever, who gives a shit. That's kind of the opinion of the Tories for sure. And, a lot of rich people in general. Like, you're poor. You deserve to suffer because that's the vagina you slithered out of. And I was a rich vagina that I slithered out of, therefore I should have everything handed to me because fuck you, that's why. And that's kind of the pish-posh polo world that we deal with. Maximus Decimus Meridius. Underworld is the below the park and can blow its top boom. I don't know what that means, man, but right on, brother. Frozen State Productions. I was watching Aliens. Ripley was in hypersleep for 56 years, and she's normal. The Marines go to find the alien planet. They wake her from sleep and immediately do pull-ups. How? I don't know how hypersleep works, man. I did not invent the system. My guess is that if you're in a stasis pod of some kind, that you're just frozen in time. And that's it. And nothing changes, you don't atrophy, nothing, you're just frozen in time. And so when you wake up, you are as if it was no time has passed, your body doesn't recognize time passing, therefore you can do pull-ups. The stasis pod in Red Dwarf was the same way. Dave Lister was like, ah, and then 3 million years later it was like, ah, and nothing had changed. I'm not sure exactly how the deep sleep pod works in the alien world. I'm sure Ridley Scott would love to tell us. But yeah, they do like having Sigourney Weaver doing pull-ups. Alien Resurrection was all about her because Alien Resurrection, she was a genetic recreation using alien DNA and human DNA for some reason, and she was like an acid-blooded badass. She was just like weightlifting and whatever. I actually liked Alien Resurrection. Winona Ryder was a smoke show in that one. That's for sure. What t-shirt contest? Dog Toggler, it's 1:14 a.m. Do you know where your mute button is? BOFH. No. Alternatively, how much of that is because rich people invested a bit of their wealth into twisting general public opinion against the general public's best interest? A lot. I mean, all 16 of the senators and reps in Florida voted against money for hurricane relief in Florida. All 16 Republican representatives and senators in Florida voted against money for their constituents to rebuild after one of the most devastating hurricanes that ever hit the state. How do you do that and expect to be reelected? Your constituents get hit with hurricanes every year. And every year, they need FEMA and other agencies to come in and help with the disaster. And you just said, no, we're not going to make sure that they get the help they need. I don't know how you... why... if you are a person in Florida, right? You're a person in Florida. I don't care what your political standing is. If your representative had the opportunity to get money for you to rebuild after a devastating national disaster, and they said no, why would you ever vote for them again? Democrat or Republican? I don't care. Why would you vote for that person who is actively trying to undermine your ability to live? Period. Blows my mind, man. Absolutely blows my mind. Yucca Frito, what about the flat earth theory? It's not a theory. A theory suggests that there's actual scientific precedent around experimentation that would suggest that there's a flat earth, but there is not. Therefore, it is not a theory. It is a hypothesis that's been proven wrong millions of times. Prontal, percentage-wise, what is the distribution of different types of rocks, soil, etc., forming the surface of the Earth? Ooh. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think the largest would be basalt, because basalt is oceanic rock, and 75% of the planet is ocean. So most of the ocean, 90% of the ocean is basalt. There's a large portion that is sediment and carbonates, like limestone, that corals and shells and whatnot died out. And then you got your igneous rocks outside of basalt, which would be rhyolite and granitic rocks. And those make up a large portion of the cratons, that sort of like the seeds of the continents are those rocks. So let's say half of the surface rocks in the continents are like granitic, rhyolitic in that sense. So the other half would be uplifted limestones and sediments and worn down sediments from old mountain ranges and whatnot. Your metamorphic shales, marble. So that would put maybe, I don't know, 15 to 20% of the surface being granitic rocks. Another 10 to 15% of the surface being sedimentary, and then the rest being basalt. That's my guess. I'm sure we can look it up. Let's see here. What ratio of surface is different types of rock? Portions of different types of rock exposed over North America. Types of rock, what distribution of continental rock? Well, that's a journal article. That's going to be a pain in the ass to read. Types of rock. All right, I'm not getting a quick answer on this. Something I'm going to look up later there, Prontal. No quick answers. Looks like I'm getting a bunch of journal articles about specific areas, but not the Earth. What ratio of surface of Earth? That's 3 types of rock to form surface. Rock cycle. Blah, 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 blah. Igneous, metamorphic, sedimentary. I'm just gonna 3 depths of rock. All right. Well, that's not giving me an exact answer there. I'll have to look that up later. Welcome to Geology Monday. We wild. Houston morning. Due to a holiday we have today and tomorrow, I can't transfer money to my trading platform till Thursday, and there's no currency exchange on Fridays. So frustrating. The one thing the Jews have right is that there's a lot of holidays. So, my roommate gets so much time off work, his coworkers hate him. Well, it's Jewish New Year. I gotta have like 3 days off work. I'm sorry. And they're like, God, why you never work? We don't, for the most part on the West Coast, like we don't really have Jewish holidays, but you go to Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., where the Jewish population is a lot more observant. Like, I remember going to a wedding in Boston in October and like school was out the entire time because there's so many Jewish holidays and there's so many Jews in Boston that they just closed school. I'm like, we can't even deal with it. So many kids aren't going to be in school anyway. We just have the week off. And I was like, what? We don't do that in Seattle. And like all the Jewish kids I knew, their whole families were all atheists anyway, and they didn't celebrate anything. But man, it's gotta be frustrating though. Like all you want to do is just take some money and put it over here, and they're like, no, I got the day off. I'm gonna go drink wine, get in arguments with my family. Glad you go for Houston had birthday. Eventually, get it right. You got 365 chances, 366 on leap years. Alicia Shadows explain yucca fry. Let's see what yucca fry. How to make yucca fries? That's not what I'm looking for. Yucca fries. They're Caribbean cassava fries? I know nothing about this. Unless it's... Google is correcting it for a single C and not more. I don't know what it is, so I can't... Oh, it's a person's name. Yucca frita. I'm looking up fries on here, and they're asking... Ugh. Flat Earth person. Okay. And the chat just reset. Where was I? Crap. Oh, I just realized the timestamps are gone all of a sudden. Uh-oh. YouTube got rid of the timestamps and everyone's questions, so I have no idea if, when I do lose my spot in line, like if I don't remember the timestamp, I have no idea when somebody mentioned something. Oh crap. Okay. Spencer's Inside Out Sweater. I don't get it though. The value is the plot of land next to the ocean, not the houses. If I can afford the house without insurance, I should be able to build there. You might be able to. So it may be like, the level 1 volcanic hazards in Hawaii. You won't get a mortgage for it. You won't be able to get insurance. But if you want to build there, have at it. Just know that the earth is going to split open. Your house is going to become a lava dome eventually. But for the most part, when you get to these like super high level danger zones, that the insurance company's like, I'm not covering that. Mortgage company's like, I'm not covering that. Oftentimes, the county or the state will come in and say, you know what? We don't want to have to spend resources dealing with this crap because we're not going to provide a fire station. We're not going to provide a school. We're not going to provide any of these things. We're not going to get paved roads or electricity because there's no sense in building it because it's just going to get destroyed again. So you might be on your own out there with no services whatsoever. So you have to fully expect that as well. That's what they did in Hawaii. They have no services out in like Leilani Estates. So, because no one's going to pay for it. El mundo secreto de José. Buenos días desde el sur de España. Hey, Spain. All right, what we got here? Just in my head. Is no homework good for K through 8? Or is no homework for K through 8 a good thing? I think in general, no homework is a good thing. The one thing that I think should be, is I do think it's good to assign papers to be written because people have to know how to write in a longer form. So long form papers, I totally get that. Busy work homework, not really. Finland pretty much did away with homework, and their school kids kick the shit out of our school kids when it comes to learning. They got shorter school days and less of them. Trying to expect children to take in as much information as we do doesn't necessarily work. And we got to reteach them a whole bunch of times over and over and over again. I am all for no homework for K through 8. You know, maybe little projects here and there, but like busy work homework, no. If they're doing a science fair project, yeah, you're going to have to like go do the stuff at home and whatnot. But, you know, I need you to go home. I need you to answer these 5 questions out of your, you know, history book, or these 10 questions out of your English book, and these 75 questions out of your math book. Like, it doesn't seem to actually help anyone. So, and it takes away from their day. If you go to work and you're paid for an 8-hour day, and then you're expected to go home and spend another 4 hours doing work, and you're not on salary, you're not doing that shit. I mean, it's the stuff people call the quiet quitting. Is like when you're done with your workday, you don't do any more. Yeah, you're not paying me for it. So, no, I'm not doing that. Pay me, and I'll think about it. But you know what? I also kind of want to have a life, because that's why I live a life. I don't live a life for you. I live a life for me. Kids need play. They need socialization. They need to be able to like run around when the sun is still up, and you know, be kids. I don't think coming home from your 4th grade class, having to do 2 to 3 hours of homework, and the sun is set, and then it's dark outside, and then your free time is, you know, an hour of TV, and then you go to bed. That's not a great way to develop a brain. I think it's good to have kids run around their bicycles, playing in the woods, doing whatever they can, and you know, it also frees the teachers up a lot. Teachers aren't spending hours and hours and hours of grading. And grading, holy shit, grading is so time consuming. Believe me. I set it up so that homework isn't due until the end of the quarter. And even then, like, homework generally isn't something that's due unless people bomb their quiz. And then I want them to go back and do the homework so they can make sure for the time for the final they know it. But I'll get 400 homework assignments plus, you know, 100 plus tests that I've got to grade. And I got like 5 days to do it. It's a lot. It is really, 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 really hard to like do all that. And I don't give that much homework. There are teachers that give, you know, a homework assignment a day in their math class. And if they're, you know, a middle school math teacher, they're seeing 8 of these classes a day, 25 students each. That's 200 homework assignments every day, every 2 days that they've got to grade on top of the quizzes and math tests on top of that. Grading 1,000 homework assignments a week? No. I'd rather have my math teacher happy and thinking about their lesson plan and how to teach kids than absolutely dead from grading 1,000 assignments a week. That's just silly. And I'm someone, I didn't do my homework, man. I didn't. There are so many teachers that wanted to fail me throughout the years because I just was like, no, I'm not doing that homework assignment. I wrote my papers. I did that. But I didn't do the busy work homework. No. I didn't take that worksheet home. I didn't do it. And then we get so mad. I'm like, I don't need to. Screw you. You taught it to me. I know it now. I don't need to do all this busy work. Give me the test. I'll take it and I'll pass. And I did. And they really wanted to give me terrible grades. And, you know, I still went on, was a success in college. Why? Because college is set up without that busy work. Teachers don't want to grade all that crap. They expect you to go there, learn, and if you don't know it from that, you're going to read it in a book and you're going to figure it out on your own. and it's successful. I learned a lot. So, no. I don't believe in homework for K through 8 for the most part. Projects are one thing. Busy work, no. No. Follow the Finnish model. It works. Play is important. No, says, shall we party at a Credit Suisse going to forever sleep? Dead bank party? I do wonder who will take on their assets. Like, is there a Swiss bank who can take on the assets? Who are the biggest Swiss banks? Biggest Swiss banks. Okay. Second largest are UBS and Credit Suisse. They account for 50% of all deposits in Switzerland. Okay. So if both of those are teetering, none of the smaller banks will take them on, which might mean that some outside banks may have to take on Swiss banks, which would be a blow to Swiss pride, that's for sure. If Martin's in here, he might be able to tell us what kind of blow that would be. And is Jay here? He's also Swiss. So if Martin and Jay are in here, well, Martin's German, but he lives in Switzerland. I mean, it is a point of pride. Swiss banking is a point of pride. And if both major Swiss banks eat shit on this one, I don't know who would come in and take on their assets, could afford to take on their assets. Got a bunch of private banks. So a bunch of first private banks were created in St. Gallen, 18th century, and still in the hands of the original families like Hottinger and Morabad. There's cantonal banks as well. 24 cantonal banks, state-guaranteed semi-governmental organizations controlled by Switzerland's 26 cantons. There's like little states or counties. They engage in all banking businesses. The largest cantonal bank is the Zurich Cantonal Bank. 2005, a net income of 810 million Swiss francs. So that's 15 years ago, did about 800 million bucks. That's not that big. There's I think the bank that's local to my town did that much money. Guitar Dude, moving to Washington State, Tri-Cities, Vancouver. I answered that a little bit earlier. Tri-Cities. Tri-Cities got lovely weather most of the year. The winters can be pretty cold because it's east of the mountains. You're pretty high up. The river's nice. The people you got there, you got people that work at the nuclear Hanford plant. You have people that grow wine, people that grow fruits and veggies and hops. You have drug dealers from Latin America and rednecks. So you got to deal with that. Depending on what neighborhood you choose, you might get some wealthy vineyard people. You might get, you might be a bunch of cholos or something. I have a couple of friends that live there. They seem all right. It's very dry. You're in the desert, so everything is irrigated by the Columbia River. Vancouver is a burb of Portland. People live in Vancouver because there's no income tax in Washington, and in Portland there is no sales tax. So you can go buy your stuff, get yourself a 10% discount, live in your house, and not have to worry about getting state income tax. The problem is that Vancouver grew too big for its britches. It annexed a whole bunch of the county. What county are they in? Not Clark. Cowlitz? Cowlitz County? I can't remember which county it is. They annexed a whole bunch over the last 15 years, and their population went from 25,000 to 200,000. Now they're like the fourth largest city in Washington as a result. But they weren't able to expand services accordingly. So there's a lot of places that are quite underserved by police, fire, all that stuff. And there's a lot of meth heads. A lot of meth heads. You will probably get your car stolen or have your catalytic converter taken at some point while living in Vancouver, if you're in the wrong neighborhood especially. There are some wealthy areas, some bedroom, doctors and lawyers live in Vancouver and work in Portland. But, it's much greener. It's lush. You get a lot more rainfall. The summers can still be brutally hot. That whole Willamette Depression that's around the Columbia can get 10 degrees warmer in the summer than it can in Seattle. because the river water is just warmer than the Pacific Ocean. But it's green. It's very pretty. Just watch out for the meth heads. There's a lot of them. A lot of them. There's also like a bunch of those like Patriot Prayer assholes and Proud Boys out there too. So just, stay away. Stay away, Proud Boys. Okay. Rocket Man, what makes you think this squeeze still happens? Seems dead. Because they haven't closed anything yet. The only way it can die is if they've closed. They've done no closing. And the only reason they've been able to keep it kind of dead right now is through the manipulations. And they can only manipulate as long as they've got power. And they only have power so long as they're not getting liquidated. But liquidations are coming, man. All these banks are in so much trouble. They've got their fingers in all the wrong pies. They're all over leveraged. They gave out way too much money in margin to all their family funds and hedge funds. It's not sustainable, especially when the market's going to contract another 50%. There's bad juju coming. Ballet Swans. Anyone know how many they did short and how many owns GME and AMC and what is the average, what they have in those stocks? No one knows. It's all unreported. Not a clue. No one knows. We don't know. We just know it's a lot. There was something that came out I saw yesterday that showed Credit Suisse still had an $800 million liability on just AMC. That might be a holdover of Archegos or another hedge fund somewhere. But they still have, thinking just Discovery stock liabilities, Credit Suisse still sitting on like $1 billion in Credit Suisse shorts the Archegos had that went tits up. So there's probably a lot more than that. So is Credit Suisse going under? Asked Yucca Frita. Pretty sure. Everyone's making that noise and the vultures are circling. I don't know how they pull out of it. They've got, what was it, $900 billion in liabilities that are known, $400 billion in assets, and only $40 billion in cash on hand, which I think is even less than that. I think their savings and loan side is pretty good. It's their investment bank side that's in trouble. So June of last year, they had, like $25 billion in cash on hand. June of this year, they had like $8 billion in cash on hand. And then last week, Credit Suisse had like $20 million in cash on hand. So their investment bank side is definitely doomed. I'm not sure if they can separate that from their savings and loan side, their commercial bank side. But the investment bank side is in worse shape than Bear Stearns ever was. Bear Stearns still had $18 billion in cash when they went under. And Credit Suisse has like $20 million. That's no me gusta. Right, Monkey? I know. I was supposed to take Monkey, get her nails trimmed today because I was like, finally I have some time to do this. The big dog's not around. And the dog nail trim place was closed. And she's like literally on the floor chewing her nails like a neurotic weirdo. Because they're too long. I'm sorry. We'll try to fix it. I'm sorry. Your nails are so long. But I didn't get them cut for 6 months because you had the big doofus here. And I couldn't go anywhere. So, forgive me. Forgive me, Monkey. Forgive me, Monkey. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I'll get your nails cut probably on Wednesday. Yes. Helicopter dog. There we go. That's right. Helicopter dog. Okay. I lost my spot. Okay. Oh, BW brand. No one knows how many short shares there are for sure. The range of guesses is huge, and people on both sides have their own evidence supporting their position. That's true. Hallie says, go down Hastings in Vancouver, Houston. It's like The Walking Dead. Yes. Absolutely. Mikey, happy birthday, Wade. Love from Chicago. We got some Chicago Night Owls in here, too. Fantastic. seems like meth heads are living longer these days. All right. John B. So the investor in me wanted to stay in, but I've lost 25% in my IRA since January and the Fed meeting last week. So I've got out of the market today. Hopefully a rebound of quarter two 2023. It will rebound. There are things you can do to hedge again. I mean, the market's going down. You just go into SPY puts because it's going to keep going down, which means you're going to make money off those puts. Or you can stay in cash, which is better than losing a whole bunch and then just jump back in when, April, May of next year, and things will start climbing out of it. But it's definitely, if you're holding blue chips and bank stocks and stuff like that, yeah, get the hell out of there. The only things that might be performing will be health insurance companies, oil companies, shorted stocks probably. Danjo, the Banjo, Houston, I did some research, took your advice, bought my first reflector telescope, was able to find Mars, Jupiter, and its moons. We saw Saturn rings. Awesome. What else should I look for? Messier objects. Go for Messier objects. You can get like the Whirlpool Galaxy, Sombrero Galaxy, Virgo Galaxy, a bunch of cool stuff. Start seeing nebulas and galaxies with those things. How big did you get? Hopefully a nice giant one. Bigger's better. Always. Okay, DVS GME mid-month run will start on the 7th, Friday to the 14th. So you can expect some green. The 11th being Reg Show, effective date on XRT, likely the peak around there. Okay, that sounds good. So if it's going to the 14th, that'll be next Friday. If the price is significantly higher next Friday, then we might get a little gamma the next 2 days. So let's see, Monkey, I need you to listen to me. Here's our options play. And she's looking me right in the eyes right now. Here's the options play. We take the calls we have, and we maybe add a few more to them, get to like 10 calls, maybe around there. We let that sucker run. We sell out sometime around the 14th. We buy weeklies for the next week if there's potential for gamma. Then that Monday and Tuesday following that, we get a little gamma peak. Then we go into puts. Whoop. Make it off a bunch of puts. What do you think we can do on that? Let's do some math, folks. Let's bring out the calculator. And see what we can do. Of course, calculator. Calculator. Open, you calculator son of a gun. There you are. All right, so go there. We turn Chrome off. Calculator's on. Okay. All right. So if we do a little bit longer... So I've got some October 18th ones, which would end up being weeklies anyway. It's priced at $25 right now, which means if we get something at 30 for maybe end of October, right? So $30 end of October might cost what? 150 per call. Get maybe 5 more of those. All right. Okay, so it costs $750. Yeah, it's about around there. Okay, so that adds to the 5 I have already. I think are at 33. And if we get a run like we did end of August, the price went up to $45, right? So that is a $15 gain, which is about $1,500 per call. So that's 10 calls, $1,500 gain on each one of those, which is 15 grand. That's a healthy one. Dump those, maybe that Friday, go into weeklies for the following Monday. So dump a bunch of those, get a bunch of weeklies for the following Monday. So at that price, and pretty close to in the money, they get you 15 calls, maybe 20 calls. They're pretty close. So then we go up another $5. Let's say we're at 20 calls. Goes up another 500. So that's another 10K on top of that. So we're sitting at 25K overall. Okay, so 25K. 25,000. Immediately when you sell those calls that Monday or Tuesday during the gamma squeeze, buy a bunch of puts. So might be able to get, maybe buy puts at $35 or $40, so about $500 each. Okay, so get you 50-50 puts. All those puts will drop another $1,500. So that's 75K. All right. So if you do it right, and it works out the way you think it should. This is ideal. Nothing ever works in my ideal world. Something always just absolutely hits me in the face like a pie from a clown. But you could theoretically turn those 10 calls into 75K. Theoretically. I'm not saying it's going to happen for everybody. It's worth a shot. Why not, monkey? Why not? I know you're scratching your ear in absolute disillusionment, but it's a big but. It's a huge, giant, fat butt. Why not? Why not, right? Why not? I was doing it really well in August until I put it all on those Bed Bath & Beyond calls, and then I died. If I had kept them or if I sold them the right time, it would have been like $108,000. That would turn $300 into under $108,000. That's what I would have done, monkey. And then it all went and died because Bed Bath & Beyond went with Boston Consulting Group instead of Ryan Cohen, and then worth nothing. And was at zero. So we'll try it again. We'll try it again right now. All right, monkey butt. We'll try it again. We're gonna turn $800 into something special. That's what we're gonna do. On top of the 5 calls I have left, because when I finally dump those Bed Bath & Beyond calls. Yeah, monkey. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? DVS. And DVS is, you're pretty good on your dates. I'll go with it. I'll roll with it, man. Why not? Why not? 7th is Friday. Ooh, that reminds me, Thursday is my aunt's birthday. So we have to remind her birthday on Thursday. So don't forget that. Remind me, monkey. Okay. Daphne, I don't really know why anyone would sell at such big losses when things are down. Since it's cyclical, I personally will just hold until upcycle. Yeah. Yeah, why not? Why not? If the call options thing works out, then I can get to my 1,000 shares, which is what my goal is. Because if it goes back down $25, that's $25,000. I'm at 1,000 shares just from that alone. So I want my 1,000 shares. That's my hedge. Or if MMTLP sells for a pretty penny, I can use that to get to 1,000 shares as well. Frita got puts on Credit Suisse. I mean, puts on Credit Suisse are a good thing. They've only got $3 to go though, so it's not too far for them to collapse. But how much are Credit Suisse puts right now? Let's I'm gonna look on the old app because it's faster than typing in. Credit Suisse trade options. Let's look at December puts. So it's trading at $4. A December put is 70 cents, for $70 for December put, which means the most you can make off of it is $400 because it goes to zero, $400. So a $70 investment to make $400 is not that bad. A $3 put is at 35 cents, which means you get twice as many, and your max profit off that is $300. So that's probably a better deal. A $2 put is 20 cents. A $1 put is 10 cents. So a $1 put, I mean, the price on a $2 put for December went up 1,700% today. That is huge. The $1 put went up 700% today. So that means people are buying puts like crazy. They're expecting it to die. That means what, on Friday, Credit Suisse puts for $1 for $1. Oh, that would have been great. Oh goodness. But yeah, last Friday was probably the day to buy Credit Suisse puts, unless for some reason they have a good day tomorrow, and then you might the delta might give you some hope there. was I? I've gone lots of rants, or not rants, but rambles today. Hour and a half in. I have no idea where I am in the timeline because YouTube is not posting the timestamp on anyone's comments. I have no idea how far behind I am right now. Not a clue. Uma Shankar Kushik, I hope I said that right. What is your take on how the current market situation will unwind? What are some of the investment opportunities in your opinion? Okay. There's going to be some banks that go poof. They are. They're just going to go poof, and that's how it's going to roll. So puts on banks, probably a great idea if you want to make money on this, because even if a bank is healthy, they're still going to be teetering, and there's still going to be like rumors about them going under. That's a big hair floating around. I gotcha. Did I get you? I don't know. So there's going to be lots of rumors about all sorts of different banks having trouble, like they did in '08. And bank stocks, at the same time, mortgage-backed securities are going to collapse. Car company stocks are going to go down because people don't have purchasing power if they can't get loans. So a lot of retail will die as well. So like, I think when quarterly reports come in for quarter 3 for retail, like Target, whatever, Target, Amazon, Walmart, buying weekly puts for the weeks they're supposed to make their announcements will probably be a good thing, because I think they're all going to be like, we didn't make any money, we had to close a bunch of warehouses and lay people off, oops, and then plunk, they'll drop several dollars per one of those, which every single dollar a stock drops is $100 profit on a near in the money put or an in the money put. So if stock's trading $100 and you manage to get a put at $100 and the stock price drops $5, you just made a $500 profit right there, especially on a weekly that's fairly much cheaper than others. And then if you can amass a good deal of cash, it's a good deal. And you can buy leaps for the SPY that go out to like April. Like puts that go out like 6 months. I wouldn't doubt if the SPY drops $100 over the next 6 months. So that's $10,000 per put if you are close to in the money. So if you're going to buy like lottery tickets, you buy a whole bunch of them at $250 or whatever the strike price for much cheaper. Every single one of those could be worth $1,000 or more by the time the market gets to that point. So if you can buy a bunch of them, you can make a lot of money off of that. Or if you're already rich, you can buy a whole bunch that are pretty close to being in the money anyway and make $10,000 off of each one of those puts. So not financial advice, not financial advisor, but the best way to play a shrinking market is to look at what stocks are going to shrink in the market and then do the opposite. Buy puts on them, buy credit default swaps. If you on margin, you borrow and sell. You borrow a whole bunch of Amazon shares and you sell them now, knowing that when they give their quarterly report, the price isn't go, and you go back in, buy it up, pay back your loan. And that's what a normal short hedge fund would do. But right now, the short hedge funds are so deep in the shit, trying to kill companies that were viable, that they short at $2 and now worth $10 or $20 or $100. They don't have the liquidity to do too many plays outside of that, or the margin available to do that. Okay. Ozarkian, which is why I suspect the Fed is talking about it. One-sided currency swaps might be on the menu to avoid contagion. I am sure the U.S. will be thrilled about that. The U.S. people are fleeing to the U.S. dollar right now because we are the global currency, because we are what you use to buy gas and oil, gold. A lot of standard transactions are only done in U.S. currency. I mean, if you are a person who wants to deal in a commodity and you've got a bunch of, I don't know, I don't know what currency they use in Thailand. We got a bunch of Thai dollars. You want to like, I want to buy a bunch of oil. And someone's like, I don't want Thai dollars right now. I want US dollars because I don't trust anything except for US dollars. You're going to have to figure out a way to convert your Thai dollars and US dollars and be able to make those purchases. People are doing that right now with euros. They're like, I don't want your euros for my oil or gas. I want US dollars. And so the Europeans are having to take their euros, get dollars with it, and then purchase their gas or oil with US dollars. So that's why every currency in the world is dropping, but the US dollar's strength is increasing, despite the fact we're still suffering 8% inflation. Because our inflation is so much less than everyone else's. It is. Europe is getting hit hard. Turkey's at 80%, which is probably actually more than that because Turkey's being stupid and they're doing quantitative easing right now and slashing interest rates and they're seeing inflation just shoot through the roof. And they're going to have a huge refugee problem. They would have a big refugee problem from Syrians and Afghanis and other people fleeing war zones. Now they've got 19,000 Russians a day ending up in one of their resort cities alone. All these Russian men are avoiding conscription and they're just fleeing to Turkey because it's one of the few places they can get flights out of that haven't been stopped yet. So, yeah. Rough. Well, at least Turkey's defense industry is making a lot of money off the Ukrainians. But, okay. Pedro Arias, do you trust Vanguard when this happens? Yeah. Vanguard's index fund. They've got everything. They own everything. So, I mean, their overall assets may drop, but they own everything. So, you know, they're covered. Tube Doubt 5. I managed to turn $10,000 and 1 million via options. Shall I quit with my head? Mainly thanks to GME and QQQ puts. Okay. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. We're going to put that out there again to remind you. You have $1 million, right? $1 million put into a Vanguard fund. You put in a Vanguard fund in like April when the market goes, that 1 million probably turn into 3 million, which will net you, I don't know, $200,000 a year in annuities. That's a healthy living. You're making $200,000 a year in annuities. Fantastic. If you put that 1 million into Vanguard right now, you'll have 1 million a year from now, and you'll be making, I don't know, $60,000 a year in annuities, which is just a middle class living. If I had $1 million right now, I would take 50,000 of it, make sure I had 1,000 GME shares. Now I've got $950,000 to do some other things. And I would probably dump almost all of that into 900 to 1,000 SPY puts. Because you could turn that into $9 or $10 million by April. And then take that $9 or $10 million, put that into a Vanguard index fund when the market's at the absolute bottom. And within a year, that $9 or $10 million is probably worth $30 million. And then you won't be doing $200,000 a year in annuities. You're probably doing $2 million a year in annuities. Having a hell of a time. Plus your $30 million in overall assets that you can borrow against and do other things. You can, take out a loan, buy a house, do all that stuff with that. That's the play I would make if I had $1 million in cash right there. Get those 1,000 GME shares, sit on those suckers, put it into SPY puts right now because we know the SPY is just going to go and collect it all. Slow and steady. I think it's probably a pretty damn near guaranteed way to 10x your money right there. Turn $1 million into 10 million. And then you just put it at the bottom of the market and that thing's going to go up 3 or 4 times in that period of time. Right? Because what was our peak of the SPY? 440? Let's go there. Let's go here. SPY. Okay. 5-year. Our max was December 31st, 474. Right? It's 474. So if the SPY goes down to like 250, 220, somewhere in there, and right now we're at 367, 366. So it can go down another 100 and let's say it goes down to 110 bucks. That's $11,000 if you buy in the money options. And you get it close to 1,000 of them. 1,000 times 11,000. Well, that's $11 million. So you get 11 million bucks. We'll just say 9 to 10 million. So it drops down to 250. Drops down to somewhere March 2020. It was at 220, right? And that collapsed. So that's pretty reasonable. Gets down to there. Well, in 1 to 2 years, right? You're back up to 470. So you could take an index fund, buy in at the absolute bottom when the SPY's at 220, and then it doubles up to here. So that turns your 9 million into 18 million, your 11 million to 22 million. And you're on an annuity plan, which gets you 8% a year in annuities if you do the right index fund. So then you're making cash return off your investment of 8% of $20 million. So what's 8% of 20 million? 0.08 times 20 million is 1.6 million a year off of that. Not too shabby. That's a good living. That's easy retirement. So yeah. And those QQQ puts will probably still keep going from here if you were to buy it, because it does the same thing as SPY. It's an index fund that kind of follows the S&P 500. So yeah. That's what I was trying to get to with those Bed Bath & Beyond calls. I was like, oh man, if I can 10x this sucker. And then I got fucked. So hard, so dry. It was bite the pillow time. Oh well. Okay. Bale Svans. What about Finger? FNGR, that is short squeeze too. I can't keep track of all these short squeezes, man. And AVCT, the next one is AVCT. Is that a buyout? What about AVCT that is a buyout? Is that a buyout? Well, they're doing the reverse split, which make the share price at like $4, $4.50. Then there's rumors that Microsoft is making an offer at $8 a share. Those are all rumors. I've seen nothing verified. So you might be able to double. I don't know. I've seen nothing definitive about that, but people who are in AVCT seem pretty damn sure that Microsoft is making a buyout offer. And the news supposedly is coming tomorrow. But I don't know. Honestly, I don't know at all. Yeah. Where's Baldo? Yeah. Everyone has been saying CS lately. They keep thinking computer share. Yeah. Credit Suisse, computer share, computer science. Just in my head. Oh crap. I missed your other one. Yes, same thing. Sorry, I didn't get to it. Do you still wear COVID mask indoors and on flights? We could have The Walking Dead happen and still expect us to show up to work, huh? Yes, I do still wear my mask inside. I was the only person today at the burger joint and at the froyo place who was wearing a mask. I have everyone. I do. Partly because my dad is really old and I don't want to be the one who gives him COVID. He's managed not to get COVID at this point, which is fantastic. We had a couple of scares when I was infected and when my brother was infected. We both had contact with him within like a day of us testing positive, but I guess we weren't shedding viruses then, so woohoo! But also, and this might sound like weird, since I've become a micro niche internet celebrity, people have recognized me a couple of times, and awesome, cool. I'll shake your hand, high five, whatever. But sometimes I'm running an errand and I got to get something done before I go to something else, and I just don't have time. So putting a mask on has been fantastic for that. I can just run to the grocery store, do my thing, and no one bothers me. So that's been cool. Well, yeah, there's been a couple of points where people are like, "Are you Houston Wade?" I'm like, I am. Like, oh shit, you related to my stalker? But no, it's just somebody who happened to like watch the show at some point or saw one of the weird music videos someone made out of me. And that's, it's interesting and cool, but at the same time, like, I've got to get this thing and then go. So that's been kind of handy that way. But yeah, I do wear a mask because it doesn't hurt anybody, right? If I'm, especially when I'm from someplace crowded, I just, better safe than sorry. I don't want to get COVID again. That sucked. I don't want to give it to my dad. He's 86. So yeah. I got my updated booster. 24 hours after I got it, I got real sleepy. I felt a little bit like part of my brain was left somewhere, and then I slept 14 hours. So, the vaccine still kicked my ass like 24 hours later. Okay. So yes, Credit Suisse, Daphne. J. Reed Art, bail the banks out and we'll be right back here in another decade. Yep. But, you got to bail banks out because if the banks don't have money, then the economy doesn't move anymore. The banks set it up that way. So, yeah. BOFH Houston, have you warned anyone in your personal life about the banks that are about to be vaporized? I warned my dad about Bank of America and Credit Suisse about a year ago, but I don't think he took me seriously. I talked to everyone about it. I think, particularly like my aunt who had all the Wachovia stock and then it just blinked out of existence. I think as a result of that, people in my family kind of like take note. They're like, I'm hearing bad things about banks in the news right now. I'm going to pay attention to this. I don't know if anyone has any bank stocks. I don't think they do at the moment. I don't think they've had any bank stocks since that Wachovia thing wiped out a huge chunk of my aunt's retirement. But, once bitten, twice shy, right? So, yeah, we talk about it. We sit and have dinner a couple times a week, and we talk about everything. What's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in the market, what's happening in politics. We're a nerd family, and we talk about all this stuff. Guitar stuff, people from the Arctic Circle in the chat. That's where I usually post coordinates from. It's on them to post coordinates from the southern reaches. BOFH, I get a bit of joy giving him the I told you so look while my warnings trying to be correct. There's a bit of history with me telling my family correct stuff and then not listening. I know what you mean. Try to think, like, every once in a while you get the big I told you so. Like, hey, everyone sit down and just recognize that I told you so. When I was graduating from school in Hawaii, I told my family, I was like, don't get hotel rooms in Hilo. Go to the Kona side of the island where it's sunny and there's beaches and get your rooms there. And if you have to commute over to Hilo for like graduation, whatever, cool. But I will be spending that entire week doing homework on the beaches in Kona rather than Hilo. And they're like, cool. So they bought those places. They rented those places. And then it came out like a day free. And so we're all going to like go to a beach somewhere. I said, okay, we should all go to this beach called Puna. Because that's kind of where the tourists go. It's sandy. It's beautiful. We can go body surfing and whatever. And then my brother was like, no. I read that we need to go to Turtle Beach. It's just down the road here. And I was like, no, we shouldn't go to Turtle Beach. We should go 20 miles to the north and go to Hapuna. He's like, but Turtle Beach is right there. And somehow he convinced my entire family of like 15 people to not listen to the person who's lived on the island for the last 4 years, but to just do what he read in some book and go to Turtle Beach. And so they all decided to go to Turtle Beach. So we went down the road, went to Turtle Beach. And in a span of like 40 minutes, my sister was molested. We watched a man almost get beaten to death with a baseball bat, and my dad's rental car was broken into. And then my brother, who had convinced us all to go there, happened to be the person who witnessed all three of these events, and then spent the rest of the like 2 weeks of them hanging out for my graduation, going to various police stations and picking people out of lineups. And then the next day we went to Puna Beach, where it was absolutely lovely. Everyone had a great time body surfing in the water. No one got mugged or molested or anything, or beaten to death with a baseball bat. And I like sat down. I was like, so now that we've experienced both of these realms, and no one listened to me on day one, and then all hell broke loose, and then everyone finally did what I told you to do yesterday, and we had the most wonderful time. I just want you to all look at me in the eyes and just admit I was right. And I forced each and every single one of them to tell me that I had been correct and they should have listened to me in the first place. So it is like, if anything, I can just bask in that glory on their misery for not doing what I said. And hey, sometimes you just gotta let them admit that you were right, and that's all you can take out of that situation. DVS Australia just increased rates half the expected amount at 0.25. DVS, do you think part of the reason has to do with the adjustable rate mortgages that everyone has in Australia? That they know that if they raise these things too much too fast, that nobody can pay their mortgage, and then everyone loses their homes? I would really expect Australia to figure out how to do a fixed rate system. That just boggles my mind that everybody is on some sort of adjustable rate mortgage. That's just crazy. If you didn't refinance in December, man, and you're Australian, you're going to be in a whole world of hurt. Houston, you take a look at Finger. Let's take a look at Finger, because I know nothing about Finger. Maybe it's called Finger. I don't know. Finger Motion Incorporated. Apparently it is called Finger. It's after hours. Looked like it screamed quite a bit. Went to $10 after hours. What? Closed at $6.50. Already up 100%. Whoa, look at that graph. So we're sitting at $6. Beginning of the year, we dropped down to 62 cents. Monkey butt. It's loud when you kick your collar, man. So it's up 1,000% plus, and after hours went $10. Good for them. I know nothing about Finger. Finger Motion. It's a subsidiary of some Chinese tech company, Shanghai Zhuji Information Technology. Finger Motion received $4 million investment from Lin Partners. Here's how much $100 invested in Microsoft 20. Ape Army helps GTII and Finger draw first blood against shorts. That's from Insider Financial from 1 day ago. So it looks like they're flying high. No one told me about Finger until today, so I missed out from last week. Thanks for the heads up, guys. Can't cover it all. Good on you, folks. If it's NASDAQ traded, is there an options chain on it? FNGR. Finger Motion. Nope, no options chain. So there's no way to make options millionaires out of that. So there's no options chain on it. But man, they've had a peak of 16 in 2021. And they've existed since 2016. Okay. Looks like they're well headed. That thing is asymptotic. That thing's going straight up. Good for you. If anyone got in that one, high five, man. Bap. You just 1,000%ed yourself. Says 54, Houston, why not just bring some freedom to Saudi Arabia or dump them and put the screws to Venezuela? I have a feeling that our negotiations with Venezuela right now are exactly that we can reduce world reliance on Saudi oil and bleed Venezuela of oil reserves. Because they got the largest proven oil reserves in the world, and once Chavez kicked out all the U.S. companies, the oil wells have kind of started to rot because they didn't have the infrastructure in place to keep up maintenance and to drill new wells. So my guess is that we'll probably strike some sort of deal with Maduro and be like, all right, Maduro, you can be a dictator. We want your oil. Something like that. Or we will help your oil program if you do these concessions of some kind. We'll find something in there. It looks like talks have been going well. So, yeah. Wheat Wild, remember the Egyptian pipeline Chevron is planning on using to pump natural gas from Israel to Europe? Yes, sorry, you told me about that one. Yeah, so Wheat Wild has a friend who works for Chevron Middle East, right? And apparently there's some deal to pump a bunch of Israeli natural gas through the Egyptian pipeline into Europe. So that's, I guess another reason to look at Chevron stock. John B. is there a bunch of oil down South America near the Falklands, Malvinas Islands. I thought that was why Great Britain for Argentina for them. Yes, but I don't think much has been done about exploiting those oil and gas fields out there. And a lot of them are out in the open ocean, which is pretty gnarly down there. If we look at where the Falklands are, Falklands are quite far south. Gotta zoom out. Da-da-da. All right, so here's the Falklands right here. So this is the roaring 50s. The storms are absolutely insane out here. Really gnarly. Huge seas, the winds never stop. And the Falklands are just off the tip of it. And so this is a huge chunk of continental shelf, which would suggest that there's lots of buried organics to lend to oil and gas production, which probably off this entire shelf, there's all sorts of stuff to look at. So Argentina can look at other things. But the Falklands were previously uninhabited and they were first settled by the Brits. The Argentinians tried to take it. They had a war in the 80s, and quite frankly, the UK whomped some Argentinian butt. There isn't much of a population in the Falklands. It's pretty sparsely populated. But you can see from the shape of the harbors here that when it gets cold, it gets very glaciated. These are all fjords. Lots of fjords in these little islands. It's very barren, not too many trees, much more like tundra, grasslands. And how far south are we right here? We are 51 degrees south, so that's some cold areas. About on par with like southern Alaska. Why is North Arm in the south? I have no idea. But there's talk that there's a bunch of oil and natural gas, and especially with the advent of fracking, that this stuff can be exploited significantly. But as far as I know, there isn't too much actual drilling operations happening yet down here. So I don't know what the holdup is on that. Let's look at the Google and just see Falkland Island oil production. Falkland oil and gas. Close you. Okay. Fogel, abbreviated, is an energy company registered in the Falkland Islands, headquarters in London. Its business is based on exploring offshore oil reserves on the coast of Falklands. It owned the right to extract oil from a number of blocks to the east and south of the islands. Fogel is listed, blah, blah, blah. Oh, they've been defunct since 2016. Okay, so that company doesn't exist anymore. Anyone else got oil production? After investing hundreds of millions of dollars in numerous political squabbles, the Falklands project has still not brought any oil to market. Falklands project becomes the largest operated development. Okay, this is a new one. This is from April 2022. Oh, you guys can't see it. Damn it, because I've got the Google Earth in the way. Urgh. Go away, Google Earth. Okay. Okay, whatever. Falklands project becomes the largest operated development asset for Israeli players. So I guess Israeli guys are jumping in here now. UK-based gas E&P company Rockhopper Exploration has inked a definitive deal with Harbour Energy and Israel's Navitas Petroleum, which will open the door for Navitas to enter the Sea Lion project located off the Falkland Islands. Okay. So they have any idea? They got different licenses. So they got PL3, PL4, PL5, 32, and 33. I have no idea where all... There's 3, 4, 5. I don't know what 32 and 33 are. Tell me how much is there. I want to know. All right, how about I look for Falkland Island proven oil reserves? How much is there? Sea Lion Field, 1.7 billion barrels of oil, which 580 million are thought to be recoverable. That's okay. That's not that very much. There's more in the Oregonde university lands that MMTLP has. So between 2 and 3... Okay, what's this one? How much oil is there in the Falklands from 2014? Tell me, where's the oil? Falklands Basin, 325 million recoverable oil. That's 8 years ago, so there's more basically found since then. Not that much. I mean, 1 billion barrels of oil, yeah, it's a good chunk of money for someone, but again, there's 3+ billion in the Oregon Day lands that MMTLP is trying to sell. So there's more in that little patch of Texas than there is thought to be in the Falklands. I thought there was going to be more than that. It's a lot of fighting over that. I'm not impressed. Not impressed at all. Okay. Oh, and the chat reset. Of course it did. How far away am I? It's midnight. I can feel my eyes drooping already. I do a couple more. Wheat Wild, futures are green, no idea why. Maybe because they want to pump it up to get some higher value puts before they let it all drop. Yeah. Crypto Chris, I want to see that 75,000 happen. Me too. Okay. Houston, the problem is the mid-month ETF clear-out run gives them more short power before OPEX, so we almost always see it go down again. All right. Yeah. Oh, I am feeling tired, monkey. I'm starting to fade. It is maybe go lay down time soon. No, playing options are usually the words that predate lost porn on Wall Street bets. Of course, playing options never, ever, 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 ever invest into options unless A, you're willing to lose absolutely everything, and B, you're willing to go, for Christ's sakes, because that's the way it works. About 1 in 5 options plays I do, it's like, woohoo, way to go, Houston. And then that 4 and 5, I'm like, well, let's hope this next one is that 1 in 5. Yeah. AMC AP should start an options trading group. I cannot be counted on to do anything for any group. I'll gladly, if you guys send me a note every once in a while, oh, that's cool. But I won't be good at it. Crypto Chris, we can make money on our stocks by doing nothing. It's slow and small profits. Options can make you quick money, but you can also blow up account in a day. This is true. They very much so can. This is why, like, if you are going to be doing things with margin, don't do margin with options. You will lose everything in a heartbeat. Easily. So easily. Oh my goodness. It will just blink and then all of a sudden they take everything you have and it's all gone. That's it. BTB, your brand made 16,580 selling puts weeks ago. Only had to wait 2 weeks for them to expire. That also works. If you're doing covered puts and calls, again, like, if you're doing covered calls leading up to OPEX or like XRT threshold list expiration, that's probably not a good idea. You want to do puts when it's going down. Sell a bunch of puts and you know the market's going to like take it down again. And then you're okay. But just know, or sell calls when the market's going down. Sell puts when you know the market's going up. And that way you can make your money and it's pretty safe. You aren't going to lose everything. But then again, if you do sell covered calls and the market goes bonkers on your stock and someone takes them all, know you got the cash on hand and then you can just wait a little bit and the price will come back down. You can buy back in. Hopefully more shares than you had before. So the tax status resets and everything like that. But, you know, what are you going to do? Walt Chevalier Houston, what's Twitter? What's Houston's Twitter? At HughesTurd. Put that in there. At HughesTurd. That's my Twitter. Okay. I think you said 3 shots. I'm a square, man. Okay, I'm tired. It's late. I waited too long to start this show. Coochie, Mongo, Houston stream, awesome, bright man, lose people when he speaks politics, COVID. Leave that out, and he would be way bigger. I don't care. I'm not gonna, curb the things I know just for an audience, to curate an audience. I'm not gonna do that. You get me. That's what you get. You get what I've learned, what I've garnered, and what I believe in. I'm not gonna ignore reality to cater to a bunch of people that I don't like. So yeah, that's me. I love the folks in this chat, man. I think the fact that you guys have hung around through whatever opinions I happen to hold has made for a bunch of wonderful people in here. And yeah, if it's made a smaller audience in the end, then you know what? That's what made a smaller audience in the end. But, that's the way it goes, man. Right? So anyway, thanks everybody. I'll see you Wednesday. Hopefully I won't be as lazy on Wednesday as it was today, and it'll be like a daytime show or something. But Monkey Butt is very tired. I'm very tired. We're going to be lazy again, go to bed. So have a great night or a great day, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And enjoy your evening. If I didn't get to your chats, I'm so sorry. Again, head over to Go Ask Houston. Post things in there. And if I can't answer it, somebody else who's knowledgeable will probably do it. GoAskHouston.com. It's a wonderful site that Steve set up. And I'm trying to get better at checking in on it every day. Sometimes I need him to remind me to go do that. And yeah, so there you go. All right. Shaboom.